go. So when it comes to camping, it can be pretty daunting to pick the right kind of axe for your actual camping trip. All right, the first thing we should go ahead and do is cover the different axes I've got with me today. The first thing we got here is this hatchet. This is the Schrade SC Axe 2. So what this is gonna cover is 99% of packable hatchets, because they're most always built like this one right here. Second on the list is this bad boy right here. This is the CRKT Woods Chogan. It's a tomahawk style axe, and what this is gonna represent is our middle class, almost halfway between hatchets and actual axes. Isn't quite a two-handed axe, but it's a little bit big for a one-handed axe. Now lastly, what we got here is the two-handed axe. This is my go-to axe. It's a very broad axe, right? This isn't a smaller, narrower profile axe. This is very much a felling axe right here. First test we're gonna do here is gonna be the chopping test. What we've got right here is my old fleshing beam that really just needs to be retired. This fleshing beam right here is nice and seasoned wood, which should make a pretty solid medium to cut through with all three of these axes. There we go. Not bad. Next up is the tomahawk. There. Wow, that's tiring. I already know this is gonna take the longest. All right. Now usually if you're camping and you need a lot of firewood, it's probably pretty cold out. And if you're like me, you enjoy a good hot tent. The problem with hot tents is usually you need smaller pieces of wood to go in the stoves, meaning you gotta split wood. So in our next test, we're gonna be splitting wood with all these axes to see which one is the best. Keep in mind, none of these are actually made for splitting wood. They're all axes, they're not splitting mauls. If you actually want to split wood, you should get a maul, not an axe. Now the likelihood that you're going to carry an axe and a maul into the woods with you is pretty slim, so we're going to make do. All right, first log up, and we're going to continue with the felling axe. There we go. Took a few swings there, but we got a pretty manageable piece right here. Nice combine. All right, now that we've got this small chunk here, we're gonna try to do what's called feathering. That ought to work right there. You can see here we got very, very nice curls, especially from something like an axe. We're just gonna give it one big chop right in the middle. The Chogan, what? Is built a little bit fatter and it has a longer blade to it. So I'm hoping that maybe because it's fatter on the end here and it gets so steep so quick, maybe it'll split better. That's about what I expected. There we go. Because this is a tomahawk, the axe head isn't set into the handle with like a wedge or anything. Instead, it is more of a pressure thing, and then you just kind of take it. And if you just do this enough times, or even take you a piece of wood and bang on it, you can set that head again. that. That's not bad. So that barely took any focus. That barely took any time at all. And you can see just how good and how thin it went ahead and made those feathers. That would start right up. So as I expected, that was the quickest and it got the tightest and smallest curls. So if you took a lighter to that right now, it would go right up. Our last test here is the meat test. Suppose this happens to you. You're out camping, you're chilling, all of a sudden, around the corner, there's a grizzly bear. All you have is your tomahawk. Can you get the job done? Now I know what you're thinking, Aaron, that's ridiculous. What are your odds of getting attacked by a bear? Pretty high, considering that they're lying to us about the statistics of how many bears attack people every year. But that's an episode for a podcast. But I don't have a real bear. So instead what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some shoulder bones, meaning the humerus and scapula of a doe, wrap it in leather, and then give it a good whack and see what kind of damage we can get done here. I think we all know a felling axe can go through a deer scapula, right? So we're just gonna jump to the thicker bone, being the humerus. Oh! So here's one of the sides. Unwrapping it. Oh yeah. I took that thing apart. Oh! Jeez, look at that. It took a chunk right off the side of that ball joint. Same deal. 2 pieces of leather. Screw it, we'll do 3. Bam! Checking it out here. You can see there's our blow. If we remove the leather, it cut through. Man, straight through that thing, right through the end of the scapula. Cut that bone in 2 pieces clean. Ooh! It cut through 1 layer, cut through 2nd layer. It got through all 3 layers. And it cracked, yeah, it cracked the scapula. You can see that that hatchet just tore that thing up. Yeah. Okay, for our next test, it's gonna be tomahawk versus chicken. Here we go. You got a big task to take care of, or a big situation, or just weight and storage is not an issue, then you should probably go with a felling axe. Now ideally, if weight and space aren't an issue, you bring both a felling axe and a maul. If you want a medium-sized axe that you can use to cut big pieces of wood into more manageable pieces, or you want your axe to be able to handle smaller, finer tasks, I think something like a tomahawk would probably work best for you. Now, if you were in a position where weight and space are of the utmost importance on the list, then a hatchet is what you need. I hope you guys found something useful from this video. If you did, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.